Buzz, your daily news source for all things real estate in the Charlotte metro region, both North and South Carolinas. I'm Ann Rudd, owner of the Ann Rudd Group at LPT Realty, and happy hump day. It's Wednesday, May 14th. And today I kind of want to talk about local uh, features in certain areas that may create um, differences in value for homes. So I want to talk today about that because I have a listing appointment today, and I have been looking at homes in the Matthews area, and I found some interesting things. And when I was talking to my client or my potential client the other day, we talked about where his home is located. And he said to me, my home backs up to Providence Plantation. Now, Providence Plantation is a pretty good sized neighborhood in South Charlotte. If you kind of make a weird boxish shape between just on the other side of Providence Road or 16 around 485, once you get to the Matthews zip code, you kind of go up and make it's a big box. It's a big area. It's a large neighborhood on large lots. And I felt like the expectation with this client is that his home would sell similarly to homes in Providence Plantation. And in my experience, that has not always been the case. And so I wanted to kind of find out what we were looking at and if that was actually true or not. And if not, like, what's the value of these homes compared to Providence Plantation? So that's kind of what I've been looking at. And so that's what we are going to look at. Now, my house that I am going to an appointment today is going to be it's a little over 4,000 square feet. So what I wanted to do was sort of compare apples to apples here. So I want to look at homes that are like between 3,500 and 4,500 square feet. And that's about it. So, and these are Matthews, only Matthews addresses. Okay. So when I pull those results, and I know I'm doing 6 months, but at least I've got some data here. What I have is 2 on the market, 5 under contract, and the rest are closed. And I have found that this is a very, very busy market, whether you're in South Charlotte or Matthews. These neighborhoods are pretty busy. Okay, so I'm just going to save this, let's see, let me replace this. And so what we have is an average, and this is kind of what I'm looking at here. Average price per square foot. Okay. And I'm looking at an average price per square foot of these sold homes at $296.97 a square foot. Now, my question here is, what do these other homes in Matthew or in Providence Plantation look like? So I'm going to go back. Okay. And I'm going to change this criteria because I'd drawn a map that touched Providence Plantation. So now I'm just going to type in Providence Plantation and let's find it. And then let's take a look at the homes that have sold under contract, that sort of thing. And then let's take a look at the statistics on that. So remember, we had the sales price here, average of $296.97 per square foot. And these neighborhoods, that when I drew that box around them, they do back up to Providence Plantation. So, when I take a look at um, these homes in Providence Plantation, what am I looking at? What are we getting? And it's always good to take a look at what's happening in the neighborhood. So what I'm coming up with in the neighborhood is kind of a similar price per square foot, which I find really interesting. But if you dig in a little bit further to these properties, and let's go back and do a map search. Okay. So let's take a look at Providence Plantation. Okay. This is a map. Let me see if I can make it just a little bit bigger without like giving you guys vertigo here. So this is Providence Plantation. Anything over on this side is going to be Matthews. Okay. Everything here in Providence Plantation is Charlotte. There is not a big distinction between these two locations as it refers to, schools are still pretty good. There is one in Matthews I'm going to talk about in a minute. But if you dial in to this neighborhood, let me go the other way. Okay. Look at the lot size of the homes in Providence Plantation compared to the newer neighborhoods over here. And there is one newer section over here of Providence Plantation that's kind of the lot sizes are more normal for neighborhoods that we typically see. But then in Providence Plantation proper, the old part of Providence Plantation, what we have are homes on estate size lots. They are going to be larger. And when you're looking at price per square foot for homes, you've got to take into account some of these like lot sizes. And I do want to look at the report for Providence Plantation to see what the average size lot is compared to over here in Matthews. But you can tell that there's kind of a difference. Okay. So that does go, you can't take a house in this neighborhood on Maynard Road and compare it to a house here in Providence Plantation with lot size, because there is a significant difference in some respects. The other thing that we also look at is age. Okay. With the exception of these homes, and these homes are not brand new construction. They were built a few years ago, but in the 2010s, I would say. But, with the exception of this section of Providence Plantation, most homes are going to be on in this location, like in Matthews, a third to a half an acre. Providence Plantation homes, if we look at the data with Providence Plantation, let me come back here and I'm sorry, look at the results, the single lines. We're just going to have to click through them. But here's a house on a half an acre, but it was built in 2000. So that's in a newer section. This one's on 0.39 acres. This one's on 0.73. This one's on 1.01. This is on 0.74. I've been in this house. So you can see the smaller lot size is 0.29. It's going to make a difference. And so if you're pulling or you're thinking about selling your house and you know that there are some differences in your neighborhood, there's a neighborhood in Mint Hill where it was half built out by a builder called Makar Homes, and Makar Homes is out of business now. But the lots are of similar size in the entire neighborhood, but the Makar homes were semi-custom, larger houses, and then True Homes came in, and now True Homes built some nice homes in that neighborhood. But if you know True, they can do some customization, but their home packages are just different. And so what you end up with is half the homes, that are brick front and older, built in 2006, 7, 8, and you know what that kind of house looks like. And then you have homes that come in 2014, 15, 16 and are built by a different builder. They're going to have a different look, and there's going to be a different valuation. Yes, you could still use homes in that neighborhood, but you're going to have to adjust for pricing when it comes to age of home, fit and finish of homes. So this is all stuff that we take into account as we are dealing with pricing. Now, as you can see, a lot of these homes in Providence Plantation are larger. The older homes are brick or brick front, larger houses, larger lots. This lot's on 0.79 acres. Now this is a newer home. No, this was 0.35 acres, is built in 97. Here, this is the home I'm talking about, 0.59, so 0.6 tenths of an acre. This is a 4,000 square foot home that is being listed, that sold for 1.210. And if you take a look at this, some of these homes have been renovated, some have not. This one certainly has had a kitchen renovation. But real estate is local, and real estate can get real local. In Matthews, there is a school district. Okay, there is a school in Matthews called Elizabeth Lane. Okay, the school district for Elizabeth Lane is pretty tiny. And I'm going to show you in a minute because I want you to see what this looks like. Okay. All right, I'm going to share this. Okay. So these are the homes that are active, under contract, or have sold in the last 6 months in Elizabeth Lane district. Okay. This is the Elizabeth Lane district. It is a very popular elementary school. It is highly rated. And as you can see from this map, it's not a big district. Okay. Now, these homes typically sell for a little bit more per square foot. And I took a look at a few of these homes when I was doing my valuation for my home, my listing this afternoon. And here I can see that the average sales price for these homes is $273.90 a square foot. So this is a big, this is a pretty good price per square foot. Now, if I go back to my criteria and take a look at the neighborhood or the elementary school McKee Road, okay, let's take a look at that neighborhood. Give me a minute. Let's take a look with the map. Maybe it'll come through. Maybe it won't. Here we go. Okay. So you can see that McKee Elementary has got a different elementary school area that it services. And it's also small, but Elizabeth Lane is the higher rated elementary school. And so when we look at these houses based on price per square foot, and I don't know because I haven't looked at them that close, just the homes that I looked at when I was doing my my valuation for properties, I can see a little bit of a difference. Not huge, but, and I still use some Elizabeth Lane comps within my property valuation, but I have to take into account that Elizabeth Lane elementary school homes in that district are selling a little bit higher than in McKee Elementary. And if you are not aware of these nuances within the data and what's going on specifically in that part of town, then you could be missing or messing up your valuation, especially if you're dealing with a listing. And pricing listings is an art. It's not a science. I wish it was. It would be so much easier if I could just plug in some numbers to a computer and some AI thing spits something out. However, I have to take into account things like what's going on in this school district. Is the school district selling for more price per square foot? And in this case, it is. So let's take a look at the difference between, I've got to go here because I just saved this to my desktop. I think it's right here. Okay, so let me figure out my screen here. I think I'm just going to show entire screen. No, I'm going to do window. So let's take a look at this, which is a screenshot. And this is where we are with the Elizabeth Lane price per square foot. So we're at $273.90. Okay. And then let's take a look at my residential numbers. And I'm going to add, sorry, you guys know I struggle with this sometimes. So we are at 200, an average of 268.68. And Elizabeth Lane's similar homes were at 273. Now, does that make a big difference? $5, $6 a square foot? It could. It could. And as an agent, I have to be able to say to my client, look, you're in McKee Elementary. I'm using these homes, a couple of these comps from Elizabeth Lane. Elizabeth Lane homes are selling for about $5 more a square foot than the homes in McKee Elementary. It's not a significant difference. And I've used some of these comps, but I've had to adjust a little bit for the price per square foot. This is all that I do. This is how I come up with pricing and how I figure out a good price to list a home at. Obviously, I don't want to underprice a home, although I'd rather underprice a home than overprice a home, because the market is going to see value. And when I'm doing this data, showing this data, and especially these Matthew homes, like this Matthew house or this neighborhood, or this area where McKee Road homes are listed, the average day on market is 18 for all the things that have sold. Under contract, the average under contract no shows, the average day on market is 3. So these homes are selling relatively quickly. And I don't know if $5 a square foot is going to make a big difference when it comes to pricing. However, there are some neighborhoods and there are some areas in Charlotte where that $5 a square foot will make a big difference, and it could hurt your seller. So my job as an agent is to try to figure out and look at all the nuances that will come up and understand that if I'm showing a house, if I have a house that's listed in Matthews and it backs up to Providence Plantation, which is a Charlotte address, different school district, I need to pay attention to that, because there could be a difference between the Elizabeth Lane Elementary District and the McKee District, and then those South Charlotte elementary school districts. So as I go through this is what I'm looking for. These are the nuances I am looking at when I'm pricing homes, and understanding that it is preferable to be a little underpriced, because if you are underpriced in the market, you have a better chance of getting multiple offers. And if you're slightly underpriced and you get multiple offers, you're going to end up at a contract price that's above market value. And that's a good thing for a seller. You don't want to overprice your homes, because then you start chasing the market. But you have to understand these nuances, and these nuances can make a difference in pricing. So that's really what we're talking about today. Pricing, going on listing appointments, how schools can affect price per square foot in a certain area. And I hope this was interesting to you today. This is stuff that I geek out on. I wouldn't call myself a high analytic, but I do tend to lean on data. And if you've watched the show at all, you know that I'm always hitting charts and graphs because I want to see what's happening with pricing. I want to see what's happening with average day on market. And this data helps me price homes for listings, and it helps me determine offer price for purchases. So that's what I have for you today. I hope this was helpful. Thanks so much for being with me. If you want to get into my newsletter, it's charlottemarketbuzz.com, CLTMARKETBUZZ.com. Love for you to like and subscribe and watch again. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 10ish. And love to see you. I hope you have a great day. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Enjoy it. Bye.